my mom was dying of cancer, and she knew it. And she said, nobody can take this journey for you. You are the one. And how you decide to play that out is a choice.
Well, I appreciate you both joining today because I think it's an interesting topic. We've Cathy, you and I have both been dealt some rough health conditions, but it seems that a response has been somewhat the same. In terms of just attitude, and because there are issues that you could get depressed and anxious, and there's plenty to work with there. But I think you and I haven't been hit quite as hard with that so I just wanted to explore that because I think it's interesting, and hopefully there's something useful that could be replicated and shared if somebody found themselves in that same spot. Cathy, just to kind of start, just maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you came to be where you are, what your diagnosis is, and what your day-to-day is like right now, and then we'll kind of continue from there.
Well, I actually found myself looking back at old records to figure out when I was diagnosed, when I first discovered that I had anything out of the ordinary going on.
Yeah.
And it was literally almost exactly 4 years ago.
Really?
So it was the spring of 2018, that I couldn't get my head off the sofa. I just could not. I was exhausted. I was without any kind of energy. And I don't remember, Charlie, do you remember what doctor actually pointed us in the direction of, oh, it was the emergency room up here at Presbyterian that they did an MRI and said, we got to go take this lady down to Albuquerque and get another level of assessment going on, because at that time they saw a tumor that was huge. It was really quite dramatic, and it had been not evident until it hit this threshold that it suddenly became, probably in a matter of a month, we went from feeling a little tired to being like flat out on my back. So that was 4 years now. And what I'm excited about is that we just went for an advanced MRI study at Stanford, where I had a cancer doctor in Houston who moved from the MD Anderson system to Stanford, and we followed him rather than starting up with new people. And he couldn't find the tumor. It was like my local doctor had an alarming concern that there was a big malignant mass in the thing was growing. And a month later, at Stanford, they did an extensive MRI and they could barely locate it. It had just diminished dramatically. And the surgeon who had originally diagnosed me back in Houston, he said he hasn't seen anything quite like it, that it's very unusual to see. And he said that the growth that my local doctor saw was like a irritation, it was something that caused it to be excited and to show up on the local MRI in January. And by the time that we were there, it was March, I think, and they could barely find it. So it had just. So I feel like totally fortunate and grateful. I have no good explanations.
The doctor said this never happens.
And the diagnosis is glioblastoma. Is that?
That's right. Okay. That's right. So there's they can't operate in the hypothalamus. I think that's the right term, in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they tried to operate and remove it, it would probably take all of my cognizant capacity away. Yeah. So we're living with it is the way to go.
Number one or number two? Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? You know, I'm at the point of it's a great mystery to me as to how it has evolved, how it has happened. So that's where I am.
So, and is it so right now? The kind of a prognosis is kind of wait and see. We're good right now.
Exactly. I'm going to see my local doctor tomorrow. Actually, I didn't realize it was so close when we were scheduling all this. But I fully expect her to validate the same approach: is don't fix what's not broke. Let it, you know,
Yeah.
let it, you know, just keep doing what you're doing.
This started like 4 years ago. I can't believe it's that many years with symptoms. There were symptoms that just wouldn't go away. And there are still symptoms, but we're all 4 years older. And my friends who are of this age have a lot of the same symptoms that appear not to be coming from a disease. So when I look at her and she's sleeping every afternoon, I can't tell whether or not she's just sleeping every afternoon, or it's the age, or is something sneaking around. It's uncertain, you know, that there's certain things you take for granted.
Yeah.
Numbers of things, a lot of things you take for granted, but we did that we don't take for granted anymore.
Cathy, what was your original reaction? So when you went into the ER and they did the MRI and then you kind of developed, and so when they handed you the diagnosis and kind of this is what this is, what was that like?
Shock.
Yeah.
It was really shocking, and I think a lot of uncertainty was the immediate experience. It's like a lot of not knowing, not understanding the condition, particularly not knowing whether or not these people were trustworthy and if they knew what the hell they were talking about at all.
Yeah.
This is not the medical center of the universe. And
but you've got beautiful mountains and
oh, it's beautiful, and you can, you know, kiss it goodbye with a smile. But that's kind of, and I think a lot of people do. My family, Charlie's daughters, rallied in a dramatic approach. They all took on, where's the best place to deal with this? Where's the expertise that we want to have underneath? And they got me on a schedule in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time in Houston, MD Anderson, which I think is not normal to happen that quick, and that they got me into the hands of some of the best people in the world very fast.
Oh, that's
so.
And so when you got to MD Anderson and they had their chance to assess and all that, you referenced the uncertainty, what did they tell you to expect?
In the very beginning, it was all assessment. It was all like, we're going to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's going to take us the better part of a week to just pull all of that together. By the end of that week, they were saying, we believe we can make a difference. We believe that we can, if you will work with us and stay with us. I think it was 6 weeks, wasn't it, Charlie, about that we committed.
You stayed there, you know.
To stay there. We never came back home again from that initial assessment. The girls found us an apartment that we could move into that was, you know, furnished. And I started going 5 days a week immediately for both a combination of chemotherapy and radiation.
And what were they so we can help, but what was the if we don't help kind of, I mean, was that kind of a time frame, or how was that?
Yeah, there was a dual conversation they had, neither part of which was decisive.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they don't know. So on the one hand, a lot of people die within 5 years. I asked the question, if we don't do anything, what will happen? They said she'll be dead in 2 months.
Wow.
And then there was another parallel conversation that this isn't always true, any of this. And a lot of it depends on attitude. A lot of it depends on, they didn't really know what it depends on, but they listed a whole lot of behavioral, not kinds of things. And you come back, you have the new MRI every few months. You have the new MRI every few months. And we've been doing that, my God, for 4 years. And every time we were going there over and over again. And they switched it to Santa Fe for the MRI. And then it got to be where we got kind of self-confident, where first it was every 2 months or every month. Then it was every 3 months. Now it's every 4 months. So we get confident in that we were making progress because nothing happened. And then it got scary. All of a sudden, one time, it got scary, and we both got scared going to the next MRI. It's like we've lucked out so far. And then with this most last going, they found in the MRI a little blip, just a little red thing in the tumor area. And so when we went, we were, without talking with each other about it, we were both scared. And then why don't you tell them the rest of it about what your doctor said when we went there and you talked to her, and how we ended up in the other place?
Well, the local doctor said she wouldn't trust the equipment, the technicians to have adequate amount of experience. And that if it was up to her, she would be back to MD Anderson, or we ended up at Stanford because my doctor had transferred. But she wanted a higher level of expertise. One of the things that became obvious to us was that the quality of services, medical assessment, equipment, capacity, it's very uneven.
Yeah.
People are largely given over to the hands of whoever is locally the expert in that area. And if you live in an area where we live, there is no expert. They're practitioners.
Yeah.
And they're doing the best they can. But my doctor locally was not afraid to say, I can't give you good enough feedback. I can't offer you what you need. And given that she knew that we went, 4 years ago to Anderson, she said, you need to take advantage of what you're willing and able to go after, go for it. And so we did, that was.
I asked the doctor, the head doctor in Houston, what would you do if you were in this kind of situation? And the doctor said, I would find someone who's worked with this successfully 300 times. That's what we did.
Yeah.
So the notion that the best you can do, partly it's luck, God's will, who knows, but in great part it's how the quality and experience of the doctor and the facility, and that an awful lot of what goes on is like what Cathys just said. You throw the basketball at somebody and they throw it somewhere else because they don't know how to do that part. So going to a place that is expert in the world, go to the best place in the world, and you still might not succeed, but it's a much better way to play.
Yeah.
If you can. Most people can't do that.
No, but it's MD Anderson. I know you've done a little bit with Mayo. You mentioned Stanford. I mean, I think that is something that I've seen too. If you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of specialists, sometimes they push to keep you there, which I'm impressed that your doctor said you gotta go to the A team here, which I think was very kind. But I'm interested. So it seems like part of your strategy was like, let's do everything medically we can possibly do. Let's get the A team best players on the force here. let's stick with the plan. We'll do the MRIs. We'll do you embrace that. But there's also the attitude piece that you mentioned earlier that I think is interesting. And how has that played out for you? What do you?
There are two parts that I am responding to with what you asked. One is finding the best people that you can in your circumstances is important. So if I were back home in Ohio, I'd be at Columbus or Cleveland because that's where the best people are.